Last year I made some New Year's resolutions for my language learning and a few personal goals as well, and I think it's going to be fun to kind of look back on that, review those, see how ambitious I was because, spoiler alert, I was quite ambitious in hindsight. But I just wanted to go over those sort of New Year's resolutions that I made for this year and see how I actually did in comparison to what I wanted to meet with those resolutions. And then tomorrow's video, I'm going to be actually going over the new resolutions for next year in 2024. So looking at my list, there's a lot I didn't make. I'm just gonna go over those first, and then I'll go over the goals I guess I did achieve, or like I was more towards achieving. Straight away, I can't remember the individual languages word count goal that I had for my LingQ, but essentially, if you don't know, LingQ is a language learning app where you read and listen to material. And as you read, you select words that you know and don't know, and you mark them off as known as you get used to them. And so over time, you get a word count that continually grows as you mark more and more words as a known. For example, at the moment, I have in my Polish about 16,600 words or so marked off as known. In my Spanish, I have like 23,000 words marked off as known, etc., etc. And I kind of made like a goal, like a New Year's resolution that in, for example, Polish, I wanted to have a word count of like 25,000 words known, or whatever exact number I said in the video last year. And in, I think, Japanese, I said I wanted to have 5,000 known words. In French, I think I said I wanted to have 15,000 or so. And in Spanish, I said 35,000 known words. I didn't hit any of those in these languages, and mainly because I haven't actually used LingQ as much this year as I thought I would. I've just been busy with other language learning apps, other language learning endeavors, other things in life in general. I've been busy, just doing things like traveling and, all the rest of it. Life gets in the way. And so I just actually haven't really needed to use LingQ as much this year. And especially for my Spanish, like for example, I read Spanish books like in physical paper form. I don't need to particularly use LingQ for a lot of my Spanish reading. And so my Spanish word count has kind of hovered around 23,000 words for quite a few years now, or at least a year and a half, or however long. I haven't really been keeping count as to how long it's been since I've properly used it. But because you use LingQ in Spanish way less than I would have normally, it's actually a lot harder to hit like a 35,000 word count from 23,000, which I currently have, because yeah, I'm not using it. And then also trying to find new words on top of the ones you already know. These are going to start becoming like more unique words, words that don't show up as much, less common words essentially. So I just didn't hit it. I barely even gained an extra 500 words in Spanish according to LingQ. And the same with my Polish and Japanese and French or whatever. I just haven't used LingQ as much this year. I have still been using it, but then I've been using it a lot for like material that I've already marked off words for, so I'm not marking off new words. I'm just going over old material to kind of cement words that I kind of know but kind of don't. So essentially, I've not hit any of those word count goals, and that's completely fine with me. I'm very happy with my progress regardless in language learning overall. So if I just look at my individual languages, I'm quickly just going to go over. So Spanish, not only did I have the LingQ word count, but I also set myself the goals to read 30 minutes a day, watch movies and series, and also speaking every day. Speaking every day, I kind of met, but I think I set myself a goal that I actually did meet, which was 1 hour a week speaking with a foreign exchange partner, which I have for the last 6 to 7 months actually met, unless I've been busy on holiday or something. I have every week been meeting up with my language exchange partner to speak in Spanish. Otherwise, to be honest, in Spanish, I haven't been watching many movies and series on Netflix. I've watched a few, but not as much as I had kind of thought I was going to. Reading 30 minutes a day, I have done sometimes I've done way more, sometimes I have gone through like 3 or 4 months worth of like not properly reading at all for that day. So it's kind of up and down. I could probably mark off reading 30 minutes a day as kind of met but kind of not, but I wasn't really consistent enough with it, so that's one I didn't meet. In my Polish, I said that not only I wanted to increase my word count on LingQ according to my notes by 3,000 words, regardless didn't happen. I think my Polish increased by about 1,000 words, if that. I also said I wanted to expand on my topics, as in topics that I could speak about in the Polish language itself, and I don't feel like I've really met that, and that's something that I want to take over to next year and try and focus on for next year. There's probably 1 or 2 extra topics I can talk about in Polish, but in terms of actually being able to talk about the topics, I don't think my vocabulary is good enough to really do that. But I've still been keeping up my Polish a lot with reading a lot and stuff, so that one's a bit of a, it's probably going to take more than a year anyway. But yeah, I feel like I haven't properly expanded on topics that I can talk about in Polish, so that one I've put on like not yet met. And also for Polish, I've put getting back onto italki. Obviously, if you don't know, italki is a platform where you can meet up with tutors and you can just speak for an hour in the language that you're trying to learn. It has a lot of different languages. It's a really good platform. It's actually quite affordable as well. But for me personally, I just kind of haven't had the time to properly do that this year. Also, money has kind of been an issue at times when, for example, I've been having to like save up money for holidays and whatever else. So yeah, unfortunately, I haven't been able to do that. I have done a couple italki lessons, but nowhere near the amount I was expecting or wanting to do. Ideally, I want to do at least one a week. I haven't, and yeah, that's why the goal hasn't been met, just because I've been a little bit lacking when it comes to the actual conversation side of things. And in Japanese, I've put say more. I don't even know what that means. I think it just means I'd be able to speak more, which, to be honest, I've been struggling a lot of my Japanese. When it came to Spanish and Polish and even French, like trying to build up vocabulary, I found it easy enough just through reading. And it came to Japanese, and reading doesn't seem to be giving me as much vocabulary as I'd hoped. And I kind of put that down to the fact that I can look at a word and I can at least see the visual aspect, but it's hard for me to take in the auditory aspect of a word unless it's got the furigana written on top, or if I'm doing it on Link. But even then, there's something where it doesn't quite stick in my head as much as what it would if it was written in the Latin script, essentially, like French, Spanish, or Polish. And so because of that, I feel like that may be why I'm struggling more to remember vocabulary in Japanese. I have been doing my best to avoid using romanji when it comes to Japanese. I may look into maybe using that to see if it helps me, but I really didn't want to, because I kind of feel like that's just a tool that's going to hinder me in the future. If I can avoid using it, I would rather use hiragana and katakana to help me remember those characters and know them more than I already do. There's a few characters in the hiragana and katakana that I do get confused over, but on the whole, I'm okay with reading those two scripts. But obviously, it's the kanji that, you know, makes Japanese and also Chinese as hard as they are. But obviously, I'm not studying Chinese, so no need to mention that. But it's the reason why Japanese is such a hard language is because, yeah, there's just thousands of characters. If you don't know how they're pronounced or the many ways that each one is pronounced, then that can be difficult to try and build up vocabulary through reading. I'm not quite sure yet how I'm going to learn new vocabulary in Japanese, but I feel like next year I want to focus more on Japanese, and therefore I would like to speak more, like verbally speak Japanese, to help me try and just, you know, get better at speaking and not focus so much on kanji. But like I say, I'll talk about that in tomorrow's video. And then in French, we had the link word count, and we also have watch French cinema. That was my only goals for this year in French, was to watch French cinema on Netflix or wherever I can find it. And to be honest, I put my French on a hold because I didn't want it to kind of mix up with my Spanish, because I kind of feel like my Spanish is at that point where like I really just want to improve it. And I feel like I've been saying that for a while now, but in the sense that like I feel like my Spanish is just like almost at the point where I'm actually good enough to speak it kind of fluently, but I wouldn't want to use that word as such fluently, but just enough to be able to be conversational. But I feel like I'm still at that point, maybe, where like I'm going to mix up my French and Spanish. And even if that's not the case, because I kind of feel like it was easy enough to keep them separated due to pronunciation and whatever else, they are still similar. But even if that's not the case, it's just the time aspect as well. I do have Japanese, Polish, and Spanish on top of that, as well as French, and you know it's really difficult to try and learn 4 languages at once, and so I kind of just said, let me just put French to the side, because I found it really easy in 2 months to get to like a, you know, a decent level in French, or at least well enough that I could read and understand, not so much with the speaking, but speaking is something that can be improved just through more speaking anyway. And I just thought, well, if I wanted to learn French through just reading, I felt like I could read news articles after like a month, and I was able to understand a lot of what was being said in those news articles, because there is just a lot of cognates from English and Spanish for French as well. So long story short, with the French thing, I put it on hold because it was actually easy enough for me to pick it back up as and when I feel ready to properly pick it back up. But I'm just a little bit worried that if I pick up a new language in the same language family that I'm already studying, that I'm going to mix up those languages. It's the reason why I've not properly looked into Ukrainian or Russian this year, because as much as I'm interested in those languages and interested in looking at something that's written in the Cyrillic script, I don't want to mix up my vocabulary with Polish because I'm still very much like learning Polish, and it's still a language that I really want to get good at. And I feel like if I pick up Ukrainian, it's going to take away time from my Polish studies. It's also going to confuse me even more. I'm still trying to get my head wrapped around like the whole case thing in Polish, which will then hopefully in the future help me learn other languages with cases, because then I'll understand how cases are properly used. It's just a thing that takes a long time to learn, and so I just wanted to focus on like one language in a particular language family, which is kind of why a few years ago I did introduce Japanese, because it's a completely different language family and I wasn't going to get them mixed up with the vocabulary. So yeah, like eventually I will pick up French again, but I only really did it for 2 months, and then not long after I did put it on a break. It's a nice language and I really wish I would put more time into it, but I haven't, and I'm focusing more on my Spanish, as you will see coming up at some point in a few days. My language hours for the entirety of 2023 video will be released. So the goals I did meet were 1 hour a week speaking with a language exchange partner in Spanish, and in Japanese I started to write. Actually, talking of Japanese, I've started to write a little bit more in Japanese, which is a fun activity for me to do, and also watching a few more animes, and also Alice in Borderlands as well. That was a really great series for me. I watched them all in Japanese with English subs because I am very much a beginner in Japanese. And yeah, that's really just a way for me to enjoy the language. I'm not watching anime with the intention to actually learn language through anime, because I understand that anime is quite exaggerated in terms of like the language is exaggerated. It's not really how people speak, but it is still input. It is still a way to learn certain words and vocabulary, and it's fun. I genuinely enjoy certain anime series that I've seen, and yeah, like it's just a fun thing for me to do. I didn't meet a lot of my goals that I set myself for this year. I also don't care. It was really fun regardless. I have learned so much about languages. In fact, I've got a couple more notes. Production on the YouTube channel I feel like has improved from last year. I've got now a new computer. I now have Adobe programs again, which is really good. And obviously, if you didn't know, Adobe is basically what will help me to make thumbnails and edit these videos. So that's good, even though it costs money, so it's a little bit expensive. But I do have that, and that is kind of a push for me now to make more videos, because I am spending money again on these programs. Because when I was not spending money in the programs, that was constantly an issue as for where I could find the programs that actually work. So that's good. The production has kind of improved a bit on that side, so that's something that I'm just happier with in terms of this YouTube channel. And in terms of languages, again, I've just learned more about languages as a whole, more about world languages, more about, you know, not only languages that I'm studying, but as you'll see again when I show you my 2023 language hours, like I actually looked into so many different languages, and it was just fun for me to do that. And on the whole, I just feel better as a language learner and a language enthusiast that I know more now than I did this time last year in just other languages around the world in general. So yeah, that's essentially everything I wanted to mention in this video. I think, like I said, I just wanted this video to be a recap on the 2023 New Year's resolutions. 2023 was very ambitious, but like I say, even though I've not met a lot of those goals, it was still fun for me to, you know, try and work towards those goals, and ultimately, like, I will get over a lot of those goals. Yeah, that's everything for this video. Thank you so much. I hope you had a great Christmas yesterday, or whenever it was, last week, or I don't know exactly when I'm releasing this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of the new year. If you don't see any more videos from me until then, next year I hope to be releasing consistent content like I've been doing for the last couple months now. So yeah, we'll see how things go. Until then, thank you guys, have a great new year, and peace out.